Hey, Sean, what's
Hey,
happening, my man? A busy weekend for you, right?
oh yeah, going to a wedding
Oh,
tonight.
yeah.
So,
So it's a good thing we're not doing this tomorrow morning, huh?
oh no,
Sean might need a little bit of something of the dog that bit him to get through tomorrow
Eh,
morning.
it's been a while. I said a couple weeks ago I had like 3 drinks, so we'll see. We're getting a hotel room, so we'll see how many I drank
Yeah,
tonight.
it's
Usually
ready to
not wild.
get
I'm
wild.
usually not wild and crazy though.
No, those days for me are long over. I used to be a little bit nutty. The proverbial one's too many, 100's not enough. So I just stopped altogether because it's in my best interest to not to be that person. But I was a funny, happy kind of guy, even back when I had a few in me. But thankfully, those days are over. I just get sinus headaches now, not hangovers. I don't know which is worse. Before I could at least blame it on the drinking, now I have nothing to blame it on.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? But today we're going to cover, as we do, we're going to be covering, Sean and I, going forward, every single one of the Breeders' Cup win and you're in races. And tomorrow, there's 2 at Churchill Downs. You have the Fleur de Lis Stakes. That's at least how Tom told me to pronounce it this morning. And I probably still got it wrong in our international show because I've been YouTube ubiquitous today. Was recently just got off the show with the Triple Clowns. I'm sure they'll edit that up, put it up on their site tomorrow. So make sure you go check that out. I know Sean will go ahead and put that information out on Facebook, Twitter, socialize it as I call it. And we went over the late pick 4 at Churchill. So a lot of nice picks in there from myself, AJ, Sarah, Randy, and then they brought in another gentleman by the name of Away Joe from another webcast. So yeah, take a look at that. We're going to be looking at the Fleur de Lis and the Stephen Foster. The Fleur de Lis is a win and you're in for the distaff, as you can see over here, and the Stephen Foster's for the big one. Win that one in and you're in the classic. So it's got a lot of consequences. Sean and I are going to tell you who we think will be in both of those races, right?
Yeah, might be able to predict the winner pretty easily, but after that, it's really tough to handicap.
Yeah, I think both of them could. 2 big favorites in Latruska and Maxfield. Question is, who can or if anybody can beat them? I feel like, and I'm getting ahead of myself here a little bit, but I feel like if they both run their races, they're going to California.
Yeah, definitely. And they're probably going to California either way, but definitely this is the easiest way.
Yeah, this is the easiest route in, that's for sure. So they're both at 1 1/8. And unlike what we normally do with all the history and all that kind of stuff, because there's 2 races today and Sean's time constrained, we will go ahead and just get into a couple of things that we need to look at to be prepared. So I went back and looked at all of the races at the distance for the last couple of years at Churchill Downs, going back to 2019 for 1 1/8 on the main track. So let's take a look. The first one, I'm sorry, I missed. It's not post position. Forgive me, folks. In a hurry, I didn't put the right thing in there. That's actually where they were at the quarter pole, first call position. So the one on the left is first call position. The one on the right is actually correct. That is the post position. So you can see, Sean, that despite the 1 1/8, it looks like you kind of want to get out to the front and see if you can hold on.
Yeah, and it's also interesting that number 6 would be the one 18% like that. It's really high compared to all the other ones. So.
Well, that's the post position, yeah. I'm talking about right now over here on the right-hand side.
Okay, I'm on the wrong side too.
On the left-hand side, yeah.
Yeah, so
looks like speed wins and you want to be in the first 4, and outside of that, yeah, good luck.
Which that's usually the way at Churchill too, so.
Yeah, and there's been a real big speed bias at the track lately too.
Yeah. And then also we always talked about on the special days too, usually being souped up. So
Yep, they get that track ready to run fast. And then the one on the right-hand side is actually post position. In my haste to put all these things together, I forgot to edit the first call position on the chart on the left. So yeah, the 6-horse looks like you want a fast 6-horse.
Yeah, it's interesting. And actually, we have one of those. So
yeah, Latruska.
But we also have it in Stephen Foster as well.
Well, and maybe that's where we get the upset. You get the track the bias and the post positioned edge, and maybe that's how Maxfield gets defeated.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, we'll find out. That's well, I there's a couple things in there that I like, a couple long shots, but we'll get into that. So we're going to get started first with the first race, and that it was not the first race, but it's the first race we're covering, and that is the Fleur de Lis. It's race number 5 on Churchill's big busy day. There's 12 races on Saturday, and I think 11 of them have purses of $100,000 or more. I believe it's our contest as well, right?
Yes,
Horse Racing
so.
Radar?
I believe so. Don't quote me on that, but I believe
Don't
so.
quote you. I would imagine that's how we're going. I think we're doing Churchill back-to-back days because we're doing.
Oh yeah. Yes, we are. Yep. So today and tomorrow. Yep.
And tomorrow. So let's go ahead and get cracking on race number 5, the Fleur de Lis. Point of Honor. What are your thoughts here, Sean?
So he'll be one of 2 that will be in the back trying to close. It's always hard to try to close in a 6-horse field, but there'll be 2 of them trying to do it. Trainer, first off, Acclaim is only hitting at 8%, and that's Claude McGay, so that's not too well. And then Javier Castellano's starting to ride a little bit better than he was after he came back from the injury. And he gets the rail. He's been off for a while. So one you could consider for exotics. No real shot of winning, I wouldn't think.
Well, hasn't run since last November. If again, I go to this back all the time because we do pick up so much from our guest and Mike Smith saying pay special attention to how horses run at Churchill and how they train at Churchill. Well, the horse hasn't run at Churchill yet, so we don't know how that's going to work out, and hasn't trained there either. So there's really not like an insight into how Point of Honor might run. But some good things working in a factor is in the Breeders' Cup, she did run a speed race figure that was over par for this level, and in terms of purse, actually taking a drop. Coming back as a 5-year-old, sometimes mares want to run, sometimes they don't want to run when they get a little older. So it'll be interesting to see in her 5-year-old debut if she still wants to run, still wants to race, or if she has other ideas. But again, I think she's one that does plan on closing. It may not be the right fit, but does have, hitting the board, on the board, hit the number in 4 out of 5 at the distance. So maybe, if a long shot comes in, pick up a pieces in the exotics, I think that's where you might find Point of Honor. Number 2, Antoinette. This is a horse that could get out to the front, Sean, and maybe challenge according to that speed bias.
She definitely wants to get to the lead, but I don't think she's getting it here with Latruska. And even if she does, she's going to come back. And 3 of her 4 lifetime wins came on the turf and the other one on a good track, which I did look at the weather. It does look like it might be rainy tomorrow. So that may be something that works to her advantage because there's not too many that have too much experience on and off track.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess it's supposed to be one of those hot, hazy days, like 90 degrees where it can storm and not storm. So conditions might change a couple times throughout the day. So I pay special attention to that. Yeah, I look at Antoinette. To me, Florent Garou is probably about the best thing with the horse here. He's one of the top jockeys, but this just looks to me like a mount where he'd really have to get something special from this horse, something special that it hasn't shown to date to compete with some of the top tier horses here.
And she's another one that hasn't run at Churchill or trained at Churchill.
Right. So it's an interesting thing too. And one other thing that we forgot about the one horse is that this is a Lasix free race, right?
I believe so, but
don't quote you on that one either.
Don't quote on that.
I think all of these big races now at like Churchill and Santa Anita.
Yeah, it must be because I don't see the L there, so that they're not getting Lasix.
So Point of Honor has not run with Lasix has run with Lasix 10 in a row. Antoinette last 2 races without Lasix, so maybe a little bit better.
Such a weird angle that we got to look at anymore. It's completely backwards than we've ever learned, So
well, we could probably make if we were to track it and put that stat out there, maybe we can make millions.
There we go.
Forget betting horses. Just know how they run when they're not on Lasix. And then the 3-horse Vault, Tyler Gaffleon, who's having, I think, the best, off to the fastest start down there, jockey-wise. Coming off a pair of wins. It's since returning to the track after a pretty long break. Ran first at Oaklawn Park, didn't finish the race, and then came back with a second at Oaklawn, and then another win. And what's interesting to me about Vault's winnings at Oaklawn is that if you remember when we were doing Oaklawn races and we did the Oaklawn Live, it was just get to the front, win, get to the front, win. This is a horse that actually didn't get to the front and still won at Oaklawn, even though there was such a heavy speed bias.
Yeah, and so this is going to be the other closer in the race, but her results are a lot better. I think she has a better chance, and also you get better value at the 10-1 morning line instead of 6-1. So she's probably going to be higher odds. She's won 2 in a row, so she's in better condition. And also last race she didn't have Lasix and she did win.
She did. She ran without Lasix. And what's interesting to me here too is Brad Cox has Tyler on, and usually, Florent is his go-to guy.
Yeah. I'm not sure why that would be. Especially Gaffalione hasn't run this horse. This horse has actually had a lot of different jockeys. So it's one that seems to do well with whoever's riding her for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been working out really well at Churchill too. And she does have one race that she finished third. So this is definitely a usable horse for the exotics. And I mean, if she got the right pace, if Antoinette can really screw up Truska, then
this is the one you think that can make up the ground late.
Make a If there's a real, I would trust the 3 more than I would the 1. And like I said, you're getting better value for it.
Mm-hmm. And then you have probably the second favorite, who's probably going to, and the way I see this race playing out on the odds board, and we've seen this 1,000 times, you get 2 heavy favorites. You have Yvonne Tante, and then you're going to have Latruska. They're both going to probably take in most of the money. And then most of the other horses, all the other horses' odds are likely to go up. So if you like a shot, I would say its odds are going to be higher than what you see in the program, aside from the 2 favorites. So Yvonne Tante is another horse that likes to get towards the front, third time off a layoff. Do you think this horse can get to Latruska and take the title and head on off to Del Mar?
I don't know if she can do that. I mean, she is running good at Churchill, 3 of 4, and then the second she works out well at Churchill, so she does like the track.
Mm-hmm.
Has won 5 of 10 on dirt with 2 seconds. Likes to be close to the pace, so that's good. Again, maybe if somebody goes with Latruska, I don't think it's going to be her, but she can sit right off the 2 that battle. And also, we got to see if Latruska is worn out from as much as she's been battling and stuff, but she always seems to answer the call.
Yeah, and she's turning around pretty fast this time, right? I don't think it was a lot of time that she split off.
And also, she's run Invante's run without Lasix the last 2 times, and it's been a first and second. So all good things there. Close to the pace, doing well without Lasix, winning at Churchill, working out well at Churchill. Same jockey the last few races and done well. So a lot of things working in her favor. I think I wouldn't like the price trying to beat Latruska if she is going to be 2-1 or less, but it does make sense.
Yeah, I do like this horse too. The last race, the big improvement from the first one in terms of victory, went from second place. She did match up against Latruska in the race before she went on break in March, when Latruska finished second behind She Dares the Devil. She was not that close, 2.5 lengths off the winner. So I suspect that she's going to have to be much better here, though that's what the form shows in terms of the lengths. But when you look a little bit deeper, the fractions last time out were just a touch slower than they were the prior race at Churchill at the same distance. And the variants weren't really that big of a difference. So I don't know that the track played much faster or slower than it did the time before. So that sometimes worries me a little bit, especially in a race where she stepped back in class. Would have liked to see the fractions be a little bit better early on, a little bit more dominant from the beginning to the end of the race. But nonetheless, she'll take on money, and rightfully so. Number 5, I'm sorry. Spice is Nice. This is another horse I think that's probably going to sit right behind the pace, maybe next to Ivante, and then see if she can outrun everybody to the finish line.
Yeah, and she's 4 for 4 in anything other than a grade 1 or grade 2. So this is a grade 2. So she hasn't performed all that well in grade 2 or grade 1s.
And I know that we talked about it last night with Matt Hook. She's also entered in at, I think, the Lady Jacqueline at Thistledowns, but I don't know if she's going to run there.
Yeah, it looked like she was staying here at Churchill. He said, they were pressuring Pletcher because there is only 6 horses in here, which makes sense. So I think she's up against it here. I mean, she did run without Lasix last time and won. I'm not liking the 8-1 that you're getting to try to beat Latruska.
Well, I think the horse does have a pretty good shot. She does have some of the fastest opening fractions of the horses in the field, so that gives her, a chance to get up with Latruska and maybe chase Latruska all the way around the track. She does have some late pace figures that are on par with some of the closers, and you see in most of her winning efforts, at least anyway, she makes up ground at the end of the race. And then I also, like that John Velasquez seems to have gotten his riding form back. He's hitting at 31% at Churchill Downs, and he and Pletcher team up to win at about 30%. They haven't really raced that many times together, just 10 times. But I think if there's an upset horse, this might be, I think it has, I think for the odds are getting 8-1, and it's going to be right behind the leaders pack. So Yvonne Tante is the other horse I think that's in that mix. I think I'd personally rather have the better odds with Spice is Nice than the co-favorite with Yvonne Tante.
My only thing too is she's also not run at Churchill or worked out at Churchill, so that's another concern. And like I said, with the grade 2 and grade 1, she always, anything other than that, she's undefeated. But once she steps up to that, she doesn't seem to be able to get across the wire first.
And then, of course, you have the 4-5 favorite with one of our guests, Jose Ortiz. Jose Ortiz has ridden Latruska the last 2 times out. Beat Menominee Girl by a nose. It was a big upset. Everybody was kind of shocked about that, but I picked her. And then it's one of the few things I've gotten right. And then she came back after a little break, won last time out at Belmont with a big speed number. Nice jump up on that. Again, Jose was in the irons there, so Jose's 2-0. Latruska just looks to me like a horse that's found her way.
Yeah, definitely. This will be a new test at Churchill. Again, not working out at Churchill neither. But she's answered every bell so far. It is she'll be running on 3 weeks rest. So
exactly 3 weeks.
That may be a little bit of a concern. Just sometimes these horses get tired, but like I said, she keeps answering. We thought after that battle she had with Monument Girl, who knows what we would get, and she ran outstanding, maybe even better. So
yeah, last year she turned around last year in a similar time frame at Saratoga, which is a difficult course to run on too. And in the comeback race, which was from 22 days later, from August 8th to August 30th, so pretty much the same time frame, came back and showed even better form on the comeback race. So she's been able to do it once before. I don't see why she won't do it again. She's the horse to beat. I think if nothing goes wrong, I'm not telling anything to anybody that a first level handicapper, your first race wouldn't kind of pick out. But you look at that past performance line, 1-1-1-1 all the way across. Yeah, Latruska is the obvious choice here. So we both probably agree Latruska is the one that's probably going to win this race and go off to the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, definitely. A 6-horse field, it was actually hard to find who you trusted for second, third, and fourth. Winner was clear cut. Once you looked at these, Latruska is going to be tough to beat. I'm not trying to beat her. If you're doing pick 3, pick 4s, pick 5, whatever you're doing, I would single Latruska and have, no worries.
For me, I think if I were going to pick anybody else, again, like I said, I think even though Pletcher might think he can't win here because that's what Matt Hook told us, that he doesn't feel he can get to the better side of Latruska, but he didn't say that he couldn't finish in the money or he couldn't beat Yvonne Tante. So I think that's the only horse he feels like he can't beat. And so for me, I would back it up with Spice is Nice, just in case, it's horse racing. Something can go wrong. The irons can break, a shoe could come off. The jockey can slip, the horse can get stuck in the gate. And if that happens, then you're like, oh, so to me, the other horse I would take is Spice is Nice. So for me, it's the 6 and the 5, and then everything else from there.
I'm going 6, and then Vault just made it interesting to me. Vault was interesting, so I went Vault number 3 second, and then number 4 third. 6-3-4.
6-3-4. Okay, fantastic. So that brings us to the showcase race of the day, and that's the Stephen Foster. And again, that horse race is for an automatic bid into the Breeders' Cup Classic. And we have a little bit of a deeper field in this race. We have, what is it, 8-horse, 9-horse field? 9-horse field.
9-horse field, yep.
9-horse field, okay. And of course, there's the prohibitive favorite, Maxfield. And we'll get to Maxfield in a minute, but let's get talking about the Stephen Foster. You did say there was a 6-horse here with some speed, Warrior's Charge, right? That's the one you had in mind.
Yeah, and I don't know if I was going to use that, but then after seeing your stats, it does make it a little interesting.
Yeah, that one. We'll talk about Warrior's Charge when we get there. But for me, the thing that concerns me about Warrior's Charge is it seems to be a speed and fade horse. And I feel like there's plenty of speed in this race. So if he's pushed, could fade. And, I'm kind of like, again, getting ahead of myself here a little bit. So let's get started with Chess Chief. Chess Chief is a 5-year-old and has raced at Churchill 8 times. 2 seconds and a third. So really not the best record there.
No, but he has faced Maxfield twice and actually finished 3rd in both of those races. So sometimes weird habits like that, you could key him for 3rd behind Maxfield and use a couple other horses. He's also finishing the trifecta the last 5 races, 0 for 8 at Churchill, and with only 3 finishes in the money. Definitely will be closing. Might be able to use in the exotics.
Yeah, well, earlier on, not lately, but he did show some speed early on, closer to the front, maybe about 10 races ago, 7 races ago. Again, Fairgrounds, notably a fast track. Oaklawn, notably a fast track. But some of those fractions in the opening quarter were amongst the fastest in the last 10 races for any of the horses here. So maybe Chess Chief can, maybe reverse form a little bit, go from being more towards the back to a little bit closer to the front. But I agree with you. I maybe an exotic, you got John Velasquez and Dallas Stewart. Good jockey there hitting. Dallas Stewart hitting at about 12-13%. So, average trainer, good jockey. Maybe you get something here. I don't know. I'm going to pass, although some of the workouts at Churchill are okay.
Yeah, and it's always interesting, like I said, finishing 3rd in both Maxfield races. It's funny how many times if you look at stuff like that, horses face off or something, the same horse will win, but that horse will be in the same position it finishes all the time. So it may be a cheap trifecta if you put Maxfield on top and use Chiefs for 3rd, and you never know what will happen.
No, you never know. You're right. It's funny how those things work out. So Empty Tomb, 30-1. Seems like Ricardo Santana Jr. has found a groove. He's been riding really, really well. Seems like every time I'm at Churchill watching races, Ricardo is running into the winner's circle. So he seems to be on fire right now on a horse that has visited the Churchill winner's circle in one of its 3 races, making a super duper step up in class from probably anything else that's run in before.
Yeah, Santana was always one of my favorites. When he was at Oaklawn, you get 4-1, 5-1 on Santana. I was always playing Santana. Now he's become a household name, and he can win anywhere. Mm-hmm. But this horse is just stepping up too much, and I don't see much here to be able to be close to the pace. So maybe he'll screw some things up front, but other than that, I'm not really looking at this horse too much.
He did show some pace last time out, and he does have occasionally the ability to maintain that pace. Last time out did have a pretty solid late pace figure, so maybe, I think.
And if you look, too, on the last 10 races or whatever they show there, only had 1 without Lasix, and that was the worst race there.
Yeah, got smashed 12th by 28, so he just stopped, and then he put the Lasix backs in him. So, yeah, maybe that's one of those horses that – another thing, too, though, is you ran on the – Turfway Park all-weather track. Some horses just don't like that stuff. And it was, also the highest level that horse has run in those last 10 races. So it's a lot of things there. May or may not have been.
Yeah, it's always hard to pinpoint exactly what it was.
Mm-hmm. If everything else were the same, it would be a lot easier. Necker Island is a horse that's probably going to be middle-ish to the back of the pack, a little bit of a closing. What do you think about Necker Island? 3 wins in 6 races at Churchill, so it does seem to have at least occasionally a like for the track.
Yeah, another one moving up in class. It looks like an all or nothing at Churchill. It either winning or not being there at all. Trainer Chris Hartman's 0 for 13 in graded stakes, but we found out, that sometimes means nothing. But
he's got 17 to go.
Yeah, exactly. But I always like to see, and now you did say the 3 victories, the distance. He hasn't won at the distance yet. I try to see, at least one. That's why trainer 0 for 13 is a little concerning, but I've won on the other one. But I like to see one of each, or at least some good efforts with that. I'm not seeing much here for this horse to compete.
Well, I think Necker Island is an upset candidate, and I show you a couple of reasons why. One, at Oaklawn Park, as we mentioned, Oaklawn Park is known as a speed track, right? So in a mile, not too far off the pace, 24-2, 48-4, were the fractions there, 112-3 at 6 furlongs. Well, then they move over to Churchill, which again is, it's a fast track, but I don't think it's known to be as fast as Oaklawn Park. It's not as much as a race strip. At least I don't think so. It's not been my experience. And then you look at the fractions here. This is 22-1, 44-4. I mean, that's 4 seconds faster, 3 seconds faster at the 6 furlong, 3 seconds faster at the mile mark. Maybe the track variant made a difference in that day. I don't know. I don't know that Churchill plays that much faster. In fact, I would guess that Oaklawn Park, it's a faster track than Churchill Downs. So when I see that kind of fractional improvement, and then on top of that, the horse is making its 3rd start off a break, I like that combination. Horse looks like it's improving. Hadn't run since last September, came back as a 4-year-old, and just seems to have a different form now than he had last year. So I call this a figured it out horse. Necker Island figured it out, and those fractions last time tell me that he'll be live again. Couple of decent works prior to that last race. Nothing published since, but I do like what I see there. So for me, Necker Island is a major upset candidate.
My concern would be, like I said, with a 3 for 6 at Churchill. He either seems to win or not be there, and I don't think he's winning, so then he's hard for me to use in the exotics.
He'll win. Number 4, Sprawl. Thomas Drury. He's been pretty strong early on as a trainer, 25% win with Brian Hernandez. The duo have teamed up for 31% and a stellar ROI. It seems like we jinxed Florent and Brad. Maybe that's why they're not running together. But $3.77 for every dollar. That's a heck of a ROI.
Yeah. This horse stepping up in class, 0 for 4 at the distance with only a 3rd place finish in the money. 2 for 6 at Churchill. He does have a couple runs without Lasix. You got 3rd and a 4th place finish, and then another 4th place finish down there. One on the edge, maybe, of using the exotics. Not one I'm really too fearful of.
No. Well, he does have 2 wins and 6 runs at Churchill Downs. I do think this is a horse that has a shot to show up in the exotics. I do like that last race. A little bit slower than I would have liked, unlike the 2-horse Necker Island. The fractions actually got a little bit slower. I know they added a 16th, but shouldn't it be 2 seconds slower? So that's something that does concern me a little bit. Saw a little bit of regression from the speed figure. If there's a 3rd regression, I would be even more concerned. So I do think it's a candidate to maybe go backwards a little bit, maybe a little bit, or it's going to do one of 2 things to me here. I think it's either going to go backwards pretty substantially or bounce back forward again. So if the track is sloppy, did win the race before by 7 1/4 lengths on an off track. So if we do get some rain, maybe Sprawl will like a little bit of wet stuff.
Yeah, and I do like that Brian Hernandez is on it for the 5th straight time, and he's been doing pretty good with him.
Silver Dust, I think, is the old man in the group at 7 years old, but do you think he's going to run like he's 7?
No, and I mean, he's the most experienced, usually, most experienced battle-tested horse. He's been against some tough foes. It's a good spot for him.
Finished 3rd here last year.
Yeah, so he's got a chance. He's a closer or mid-pack horse. I'd rather him be middle of the pack than way back like he shows sometimes. But the horse seems to be able to run however they want him to run, so that's always good too.
Yeah, well, he does have the top pedigree score for the distance, so that should work out. He's a little bit old. Last race, I think the fractions were slowish. I know it was on slop, but did win. A little bit of an older horse coming off a layoff, a short layoff. His recent history off of layoffs, he hasn't won in the last like 7 or 8 races, last 4 times. So I think Silver Dust might need one to kind of loosen up those old man legs. But has been in the money 8 out of 10 at Churchill, so likes to track. So the Mike Smith likes to track angle plays for Silver Dust, and I do think the old man does have a shot to collect some of the in the money.
And he did win the last race without LASIK, so that's a good.
And here's your 6 horse that's got speed with that Brad Cox Florent Giroux combo.
Yeah, 0 for 2 at Churchill, 0 for 2 at the distance, and like you said, seems to really fade badly. So that was my concern. I looked at him with the speed, but there's other speed in here that I think is going to keep him honest. And with not having much holding power usually up front, concerned me. And also not having the success at the distance and Churchill like I would like to see if he's going to get. So the only way I would use him is if, he got an easy lead, which I don't see happening here, and we won't know till the gates open, so I don't trust it.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, he does have some decent workouts at Churchill, so I do like that. But my concern is Oaklawn Park. Again, I'm going to go back to that. Oaklawn Park is a fast track. The horse got to the lead at Oaklawn Park and then still faded when speed held exceptionally well. And I remember watching him in the Oaklawn handicap. I think we commented on that race. He got out to the lead, and then he ended up 5th of 8 by 3 1/4 in the last 16th. Just got ran by. I don't know. That race was 1 1/8, so this one is 1 1/8 as well. I just think it's going to have a lot of pressure, and with that pressure, it does tend to fold late. If he gets to run the easy fractions on the front, or maybe they try something a little bit different and maybe, put him 3rd and see if he can rally. But I don't see him going wire to wire. And right now, that's the only way he finds to the winner's circle. Number 7, South Bend, is a Tyler Gaffleon, Bill Mott. 3rd start off a layoff. It could be the last horse out of the gates.
Yeah, which isn't a good angle. It steps back up in class. Usually doesn't fare too well when he's in the upper class. He does better when he's in the lower. So one that I had a hard time looking at.
And he's lost to a couple of horses that are in this field.
Yep, exactly.
All right. So I agree with you. I think South Bend is probably, if we were doing the Tom pick your last place horse, would be a candidate for. I don't know necessarily would be. I think a 2 horse would probably be my last place horse, but South Bend would probably be my 7th place horse, maybe. Maxfield, the Godolphin horse, Brendan Walsh training, Jose Ortiz, a friend of ours, on the horse. The horse to beat unquestionably, 3 for 3 at Churchill, 6 for 7 in a lifetime. Just missed in out at the Santa Anita handicap. 3rd by 2 to Idle and Express Train is the favorite. Really has not done anything wrong. Loves to track. Loves to win any way anybody beats Maxfield.
And no, I think Maxfield would just have to not be ready or not want to run for him to get defeated. And add to your stats, Jose Ortiz has been on him 4 times and has won every time on him too. So Jose ran him the first 3 times, then Drew took over, and Jose got him last time again and won easily. And I see it kind of being the same here.
Yeah, I think if Maxfield runs Maxfield's race, as long as he doesn't run into Santa Anita handicap, maybe just didn't like the West Coast to travel or something along those lines, but hasn't lost in a East Coast time zone, or at least one east of the Mississippi. I think Maxfield is the horse to beat. I mean, we don't really have to say much. Again, this is Maxfield is the horse to beat. If Maxfield loses, it'll be because somebody ran the race of their life, or I would say more likely something went wrong. So that's the only way I see Maxfield not coming home. And then you got number 9, Visitant, a horse that's kind of looks like last time out, try to change up its running style, finished second behind Maxfield, but Maxfield was pulling away at 1 mile and a 16th, another 16th of a mile, and Visitant would have been, 4.5, 5 furlongs behind.
Yeah, but I do like that this horse can go to the lead, can sit off, can come from far back. This horse can do whatever they want him to do again. And I do like that, Maxfield has faced a bunch of these horses already, and Visitante was the one that got second, So there's some stuff there. I'm not sure I like the outside post, but he does get to be right next to Maxfield. And, jockeys say all the time about following the horse that they want to go through. Well, Maxfield would be a good horse to follow here. So hopefully he can maybe he can follow Maxfield to the finish line and finish right behind him.
Well, you're getting some decent value at 6-1. Last time was the first time around Churchill, ran his top speed figure in all of his races. So maybe he likes the Churchill track. Workouts since that race say he does. They've been pretty solid. At least one of them was pretty solid. On June 6th, ran a bullet fastest of 37 at 5 furlongs. So putting in the work, so should still be in form. Does seem to like the track. I think, though, looking at the all-weather and then his all-weather record, and maybe the one turf race didn't go very well, the Del Mar Derby. I think maybe this is a horse that might be better suited for turf than it is for dirt, but that last race at Churchill says otherwise. I think it's a factor, but you got Warriors Charge going to be up front with him. You have this horse is going to be up front. So I think you're going to have some pace that he's going to have to contend with, and that pace might be a little bit too hot. Silver Dust might try to be near the front. I can see Sprawl racing right behind them. So I think there'll be a little bit of a pace, empty tomb. So I think there could be a lot of pace up front that does open it up for horses that like to come off the pace and not necessarily be the speed horses. So how do you line them up?
I was going to go, so I kind of went like how they've run. I took Maxfield, obviously, and then I took Visitante as second, and then I took number 1 for third. Kind of a flyer there that they'll finish like they've been running and go 8-9-1. And then I threw the veteran in for fourth, number 5.
So I went Maxfield, obviously, and then I went Necker Island. I think Necker Island's going to, good form. Horse found itself. I like Sprawl 10-1. It's a horse that I think gives you some value. And Silver Dust 80% of the time in the money at Churchill Downs. You kind of have a hard time arguing about that. Silver Dust is going to give you a good effort at that track. So that's the way I see it. We'll find out tomorrow when they're official. And then tomorrow, of course, I'll be commenting live. Sean will be trying to take some Advil, drinking some water, and get rid of his headache. Maybe if he feels better at some point, he'll join us for the live commentary for the tomorrow's races at the live contest. If you're interested in some Irish racing, Tom and I earlier in the day did Curragh for Saturday and one race on Sunday. We'll be putting that up on Horse Racing Radar pretty shortly. And if you want some Horse Racing Radar gear, a hat or a shirt, I don't have mine yet. You can have one before me. You can head over to the Horse Racing Radar's Facebook page, right? Is that where they can get them, Sean?
Yep. And it's right at the top of the page. There's a little shop there that you can purchase them. Free shipping.
Yeah, so make sure you get a nice hat. Go out there, something a little bit different. Some of the jockeys are starting to wear them at the tracks now, so help us spread the word. We would greatly appreciate that. If you like what you see here, when Sean and I do these every week, we'll be covering all the Breeders' Cup win and you're in races. Make sure you subscribe, you hit the bell, or whatever those things you're supposed to do. Head on over to Twitter and Facebook. What are our socialized sites?
Horse Racing Radar, at Racing Radar.
At Racing Radar. Go over there and like us or follow us or whatever it is that you have to do with those two things. Sean knows that stuff. I don't know any of those things at all. So, well, that wraps it up for today. I've been YouTube ubiquitous. I'm happy to get off the screen and get to work. Until next time, folks, good luck at the races.